Hey guys, so this video is an explanation about your final exam. No need to write your name here, absolutely no need. Each and every one of you get a copy of this document with your name on it. So no need to write your name. You're going to submit your final exam to Google Classroom, and again I will receive your name, right? So absolutely no need to write your name in this space. Everything else is more or less the same as a usual exam, although this one is a home exam. But let's start with what you already know. This part is the self-evaluation part, and we have here 4 statements, 4 criteria, and what I want you guys to do is to give yourself a grade for each one of those. So for the first criteria, you're going to write number 1, and then you're going to give yourself a grade from 10, the best, to 1, the worst. First criteria is the disposition towards learning. How willing were you to learn? Did you come to class every day with the best attitudes towards learning? You try to maximize your learning opportunities. If this is you, give yourself a 10. If, on the contrary, you were passive, didn't take advantage of the learning opportunities, and had excuses instead of successes or attempts for success, you give yourself a 1. If you were somewhere in the middle, sometimes you did one, other times you did the other, somewhere between 2 to 9. For the second criteria, helping others, if you help others always, all times, you give yourself a 10. Never helped anyone, give yourself a 1, somewhere in between 2 to 9. Third criteria, respect for others. If you always respect everyone in every way, give yourself a 10. If 3 of your friends can say that you were repeatedly disrespectful towards them, give yourself a 1. And if you are somewhere between 2 to 9, you write your answers in this document. It is automatically saved, as you can see. No problem. You can work on it as many times as you like until the due date. Last criteria in the self-evaluation is self-respect. Not respect towards others, respect for yourself. If you looked at yourself as a valuable person, a capable person, a one that can solve its own problems, and this is exactly what you did, you give yourself a 10. If, on the other hand, you looked at yourself as an incapable person, someone that can help himself, invaluable, can't do anything, you give yourself a 1. If you're somewhere in between, somewhere between 2 to 9. Okay? Good. So this is the part of the self-evaluation. I'm going to erase this. Let's move to the instructions of the exam. This exam, the purpose of this exam is to evaluate your knowledge and skills that we acquired during this bimester. What's different about this exam is that it's a home exam. You do it at home. Don't come to class, you lock you in the room and you write your exam in 2 or less hours. Take the time you need. You have until the 8th of September at 9 p.m. That's Thursday at 9 p.m. at night. You can do the exam whenever you want. You can open it, close it, do it as many times as you like, right? Do it at home at the time that you have. As a home exam, you are very welcome to use all sources of information available to you. You can talk to your friends, talk to your family, your favorite rabbi, your priest, your pastor, your neighbors, your secretary, whomever, the internet. Feel free to use all the sources of information available to you. But do not copy-paste. If you talk to a friend, you ask them, hey, what do you think about the first question, and so on, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Do not write the answer. Don't even write something close to the answer. Write your own question, your own answers. You can discuss the topic, discuss the questions, but make sure that your work is original. I'm going to use an application that looks for similarities. There is no way to fool this program. Absolutely no way. It is used in all the leading universities. Please don't test us, right? Make sure your work is original. And again, you're very welcome to discuss ideas, to ask questions about the questions, to talk about the topics, right? Don't copy answers. Again, please submit your answers, the home exam, to Google Classroom, only to Google Classroom, not to my mail, not to anywhere else, not on paper, to Google Classroom by the 8th of September. Because you have more than a week to do that, there are no excuses about internet failures or whatever. Just do it until the deadline. Every question will be graded according to a grading rubric. That means the criteria with which I evaluate your answers are already determined. I don't decide them after I see your answers. They are already decided and they are transparent to you. I give them to you right now. So let's go over the questions and then I'm going to show you for each question how I'm going to evaluate it. Let's go over the questions. I want you, every question starts with a statement. This statement gives you the context, should focus you on the topic of the question, right? What I'm asking you to do in the first question is to describe and explain the most important choice in this story. In this story, the most important choice has to do with the hierarchy of values. Which value is more important than other? These characters are making many choices, are taking many choices, right? These choices are always within values. One of these choices clearly shows in a clearer way than others which value is more important than any other. Please explain, in your opinion, which is the most important choice and why. Of course, your explanation must show that it has to do with values. This is the rubric. This is how I'm going to grade the first question. Question number 1. The answer is worth a maximum of 2 points. 1 point goes for the values. The other one goes for the mechanics. How do you write in English? Let's start with the mechanics. 1 point, a complete 1 point, 100% of it, goes to you if you have only few or none mistakes in English grammar. It's okay to have a few mistakes, right? But it's not okay to have spelling mistakes because you write your answer in the computer and it autocorrects it. It highlights your mistakes in spelling and suggests a correction. If you want to get the 100%, don't make mistakes in spelling. It's okay to make 1 or 2 mistakes in English. Grammar, it's fine. If you have 3 to 7 mistakes in grammar, you are here, or 1 to 5 spelling mistakes, you are here. Get 75% of this 1 point. If you have plenty mistakes, more than 7 in grammar, you are automatically here. And if you have more than 5 spelling mistakes, even though you're using the computer and it autocorrects it and it annoys me, you get half a point. That reserves for the mechanics. This one is not for you, it exists, but you guys want to make sure that you are here. You understand what's the difference between the best, good, acceptable, bad. You want to be here. This is the pastel, this is the machete. This is how you get the best answer. This is the recipe for the best kind of answer. When I'm gonna grade you, I'm gonna highlight where your answer is at. If in the values category, in the first question, you are here, the values that demonstrated through the choice that you are explaining is undisputedly the most important ones in the story, you are here. I'm going to highlight it in green. You know that you got 1 point for it, right? If, in another situation, the values that are demonstrated through the choice that you are explaining are among the 5 most important, but they are not undoubtedly, indisputably the 2 most important, you get 75%. Now, I want you to make sure that I understand that these are the most important. Your explanation is very important here, right? Pay attention, I didn't say how long your answer should be, but this basically gives you the notion that you need to persuade me, right? If I can make a mistake and say, well, I'm not convinced they are indisputably the most important, but they might be from the 5 most important, so the lines that you saved here gonna cost you here. If the values that you demonstrate through the choice are evident in the story, they exist in the story, but they are not among the most important, you'll get half a point, and this one is not for you. Second question is about the story Tanuro Shel Achnai. Here there is a statement that should remind you and focus you, give you the right context to answer these 2 questions. I want you to please explain, according to the story, how the meaning of the law is being decided in the Jewish culture. This story starts with an argument about a law that has to do with purity and impurity. But what it really is about, what this story is really about, is this technique, this mechanism of deciding the meaning, the right meaning of a law. And this is what they are arguing. They show more than one way, and at the end, they show which is the right way according to Judaism. I want you to describe that. How does the Jewish culture decide the meaning of a law? Then I want you to please write an original story, your own story, about a society with no rules at all. Absolutely no rule, not a single one. Show what happens. Show what happens by describing specific cases from everyday life, right? Choose whatever you like. A person goes to the store, right? Whatever. Show what happens when there are no rules at all. Let me show you how I'm going to grade it. Here is the second question. The rubric for the second question. It is worth 6 points. The complete answer is worth a maximum of 6 points. This is how you're going to be graded. If you talk about the way of interpretation, the meaning of the law, and you show more than one way, and it is described in a very good way, perfect, you got it, 100%. If the way of interpretation of the law is being determined, if the way the interpretation of the law is being determined is described accurately using quotes from different parts in the story, good. What is the difference? Here, the way the interpretation of the meaning of the law is being described accurately using quotes from different parts in the story, and let me show you the rubric of the second question. The entire answer is worth 6 points, and this is how they will be given. 3 points will be given to how you talk about the laws. You will get 100 points if the way, the interpretation, the meaning of the law is being determined, if it is described accurately using quotes from different parts in the story, and confronting the right way of interpretation with the other way, you get 100 points. That means you will use quotes, you will explain the right way of interpretation according to Judaism, but you're going to show that there is a possible other way, but it is the incorrect, and you're going to use quotes from the story to prove your point. If you show 2 ways, then you show which one is the right one, perfect, 100%, 3 points. If you show the right interpretation and use quotes from different parts of the story to support the right way, but there's only the right way, there is no the wrong way, there is no alternative in your answer, that's okay. You get 75% for that. 75% from 3 points. If you describe the right way of the interpretation of the law according to Jewish culture. But there are no quotes and no alternative. You get a point and a half. Explanation is wrong, not for you. In the story, if the description of the society with no rules is vivid, you show 3 or more individual different symbolic incidents, cases that demonstrate how does it look, a society with no rules, good or bad. Don't care if the society is good or bad, it's fun to live in or it's not. I just want to know how it looks like according to you. I want to know it. I don't want you to explain to me. I want you to show it to me through 3 different individual symbolic incidents that happens in such a society. If you show it through 2 individual different symbolic incidents, you're here. Only 1, nothing. Story is creative, original, pleasurable, you're here. Not original, still creative, focused and pleasurable. It is focused, you're here. Mistakes in English, no need for mistakes in spelling. I'm talking about few mistakes in grammar, that's okay. No mistakes in English, you're here. Some mistakes in grammar, few mistakes in spelling, you're here, and so on. Right? This was the second question. Third question is this. After the Holocaust, many researchers have tried to understand how could so many human beings act the way they did. 2 such researchers are Stanley Milgram and Philip Zimbardo. Milgram conducted the authority experiment. Zimbardo conducted the Stanford prison experiment. Both experiments are available to you in the BBC documentary, which is in Google Classroom. The Stanford prison experiment is also available to you in 2 other explanations, forms of explanation, if you like, which is the Hollywoodic movie called The Experiment, and the other one, which is Quiet Rage, the documentary from Stanford University. We're going to talk about both during our next classes. What I'm asking you guys to do is to describe, only to describe, not to understand yet. These are a complex experiments. In this part, in this exam, all I want to know is that you watch them and that you understand the plot, what happens. Now I'm going to be focused on that. I'm asking about what happens in the Milgram experiment. It is short. Basically, I want to see that you understand the 3 groups of participants. The doctors, the authority figure, the one with the white coat, the other person, which is the student, supposed student. It doesn't really exist, right? It's an actor, and it's a recording of an actor. And the other one, the teacher, so-called teacher. This is the one that is the subject of the experiment. This is the one that they want to record the reactions of, right? Describe what's happening. What is the interaction between these 3? What's going on from the moment the experiment begins until it ends? What happens? Right? I just want the description. I also want the description of the first day, only the first day, and the first morning, the following morning of the Stanford prison experiment. What happens from the moment the police car comes to take the participants in this experiment until the moment they wake up. Something happens after they wake up in this morning of the second day, and that's that, right? We're going to continue. That's that. Now I want to know it from the points of view of 2 groups, the guards and the prisoners. What happens to a prisoner during the first day? What happens to him the following morning when he wakes up, and during the first few hours of the second day? What happens to the guards? How they begin the first day? How do they react? How do they behave? What do they do? And what do they do in the second morning? In the morning of the second day, the first few hours of the second day. They do different things. What do they do and why? Sorry, not the why, not the why. Why is complex, we're going to talk about later. This is how I'm going to grade your description of the third question. 1 point reserved to each of these experiments. For the Stanford prison experiment, if you describe the two groups, prisoners and guards, correctly using the actions and naming the main figures, the main characters in these groups, and what do they do, and both the first day and the following morning, perfect. If you describe the two groups fairly well, don't name the main characters, which makes it fairly well and not excellent. Some important details are missing. I'm not going to give you an example because I don't want to give you clues. You are smart enough to know it yourself. If you are missing a few, you are here. If you describe the groups fairly well, and all the details are here, you will be somewhere here in the middle. And I'm going to highlight both. And you're not going to get 75%, not going to get 100%, you're going to get 90%, 85%, right? Something like that. I'm going to highlight both, meaning you are somewhere between both. Okay, for the Milgram experiment, if all three participants and the actions are described correctly, you got here. 2 participants and the actions described correctly, you're here. Maybe you describe all 3 participants, but didn't describe correctly the actions or all the actions, you are here, right? Only 1 participant and his actions are described correctly, you get 50%, so on. Guys, good luck. At the end of this video, you'll have a forum where you can ask questions, you can ask me questions, you can ask your friends questions. Please answer the answers of your friends. Maybe I won't be able to answer your questions quick enough, and if you see questions that I didn't have the time to answer, try to answer. I will definitely go into the forum and I will answer your questions. If I see an answer is incorrect, I'm gonna answer it again. The point of giving you a home exam is that it's okay to make mistakes during the process, right? It's okay to answer something, ask your friends, hey, what do you think about my answer? And then correct it. Do not copy from each other. Don't copy. Good luck.